Welcome to Between State Lines.
Welcome back to Between State Lines, episode 14. We are getting up there, almost halfway to 20, which is always crazy.
Halfway to 20?
Math is not mathing. Halfway to 20 from 10. I mean, from 10, we're almost
Okay.
halfway to 20.
I was like, halfway to 30. Almost there.
That sounds better. We're halfway to 30. But our audience is growing. We had 50 listeners last week, and we have 68 as of today. As Steph knows, and as you guys know, I announced it this past week. We have a psychic on the show next week, which we are so pumped for.
I'm so excited. I went through so many of her videos. I can't wait to actually meet her. Like, the vibe is nice.
Yeah, and I've been compiling questions. I'm coming at it from a skeptic point of view, but not. I don't want to like badger her and be like, I don't believe you, but I want to understand like how she does the things that she does. I was on a live with her, watching her live like 10 minutes ago, and it's wild, like the things that she says and how she's able to derive the things that she says. And they're when I read in the comments, and the person that's getting the reading, they're really accurate. So I'm like, there's got to be something, either it is real or she's just really, really good and intuitive, like either or.
I know I put out a video on TikTok and I was like, what is happening in this universe? Like, these are my signs. And she messaged me and everything, I didn't even realize who it was at first when she messaged me, but I was reading through and I was like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm honestly leaving this like really hopeful. So things are changing. It's like out with the old, in with the new, but it, I like her. I don't know. I don't get like that, oh, I want this interaction to be limited kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, and I reached out to a few other ones, and I don't know, there are some on TikTok Live are just like, okay, you can tell they're just doing it. Like you said, you had people reach out to you offering to do readings or whatnot, and you do a donation, and so you get those guys, and it's like, okay, they're clearly just in it for the money, but she seems really legitimate, and she really likes to help people. Um, so if you guys have any questions for a psychic in general, just send them our way, either email or DM one of us. Um, don't ask for readings. We don't want to have her do readings on the podcast. It's specifically to kind of get a feel for what she does and like that idea.
I'm so excited. I was telling Abe, my coworker, he was so excited that he got a little shout out during one of our episodes. And now he's been binge listening, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I was telling him like what's upcoming, and he's pumped.
Abe, I'm speaking directly to you. I need you to go on to Spotify, give us a 5-star review, and if you don't, Steph is going to harass you. So
That's
be
not like
harassed for it.
But thank you for listening, Abe. And then also
Thank you for listening.
Ashley, because she's one of our newer listeners. She just found out that I had a podcast this last week and was very upset with me that I wasn't just screaming it from the rooftops. She's like, let your friends support you.
Well, welcome in, both of you. We are also looking for a ghost hunter. I have been on the hunt, and the ones I've reached out to have not responded yet.
That does remind me that Abe he's very skeptical and is not scared of ghosts. So he said he will not let you trash his drone, but he will go to a haunted area and fly the drone, and it doesn't bother him at all.
Okay, so we need to coordinate this then. I won't be responsible for flying the drone, but I will acquiesce to his preference to fly the drone. We will need to find an area, so I'll be on the hunt out for somewhere in the tri-state area, and we can figure some day out to do that. 'Cause that sounds awesome.
Right? Yeah. When he said that, I was like, oh yeah, I have to remember that. Have to remember to tell you.
Were you on TikTok at all the last 2 days?
Like barely. I think I went
Barely?
on the scroll in the middle of the night kind of thing.
Have you stumbled across the whole rug talk?
The rug talk? I don't think so.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so this lady, in Ohio, I believe it is, Columbus, Ohio. She, has a house, and her husband were building putting up a fence in the backyard. I think it was the backyard. So they were digging for, like, the fence posts, and they were digging, and they got down, like, 3 feet down and saw a rug. So they were like, "What is this little weird? A rug is in the ground." House from the '60s, and there's one previous owner, and they're in their 90s right now in a nursing home. But they bought the house, put in the fence post, and found this rug, and so got weird vibes from it. And apparently, the same night they found the rug in the ground, they had a bunch of like paranormal experiences, like her laptop in her office at home. Uh, in the morning, the screen was all shattered. Um, her son plugged his phone up overnight, and it went from 100% when he plugged it in to 3% in the morning. Which, I mean, that could be explained away as just a electronic problem, but it was still weird. So her office is trashed. Her son's phone is fucked. But it gets weirder. So she posts these videos on TikTok explaining what she found and the rug and stuff, and people are commenting, "Hey, you should dig up the rug and see what's in it." And so she starts to do that, and then she decides, "No, I'm gonna actually reach out to the police." So the police come out and look, and they're like, whatever. We don't care about this. We're not gonna do anything." So she plans this like dig party to have a bunch of her friends come over and just dig this whole thing up themselves. But last night, the police department decided, wait a minute, we actually want to bring cadaver dogs to your house and see if, I guess there was missing persons cases in the area that were old, and they're probably like curious, like, okay, maybe this person is buried here. So they brought cadaver dogs out, and both dogs sat on the hole, like next to or like on top of the hole. They both hit on the hole. So police said, okay, you know what? Tomorrow, which is today, we're going to bring our excavator in. We're going to dig this whole thing out. So they put up caution tape and cordoned the area off. I think they had a police car in front of the house overnight to like make sure no one messed with the hole. And then today they did the whole excavation, dug the whole thing out, and got the rug out of the ground. But there was nothing in the rug. It was just a like I don't know, 3 feet of rug, pieces of rug, not a whole rug, with like rubber in it, and that was it. Thankfully, no dead body, but it was just a rug. That's all it was.
Whoa, was there something sinister with this rug and that's why the cadaver dogs hit? Um, and is there anything underneath where the rug is? Did they further look at the soil? Like, has it been messed with? Because they have those machines that they can see if it's been disrupted.
So apparently, they like dug pretty deep because I guess it was like kind of near their deck. They had to like dig, out multiple feet to kind of get the whole thing out. Or get it out cleanly rather. Uh, and so there's nothing down there beneath it, nothing next to it, nothing at all, nothing on the rug, like no blood. So no one really knows why the cadaver dogs, like two of them, hit on that spot of the yard.
Or why this paranormal stuff? Did they ask the old owners if they buried pieces of a rug? Like maybe it was like, oh, my dog had a really bad accident, and instead of throwing this away, I just buried it.
So the lady, she reached out to the real estate agent because they bought last year, and the real estate agent is friends with the daughter of the previous owners, and she said she would talk to her parents, but that was yesterday, and there was an update today on that one. But she said she doesn't recall ever burying a dog out there or a pet because all their pets and dogs were cremated when they died. So people thought maybe the wife had a miscarriage and they buried the miscarriage or something like that. I don't know if that was a common thing to do back in I guess the 70s or 80s, but
Yeah, I'm so curious. Like, yeah, what if it came down to like there was some sort of bodily fluids on there? Like, oh, the kid threw up one day and I like couldn't get the smell of this rug, so I destroyed it and buried it in the backyard.
sounds like something I would do. Like, oh,
Yeah, it does
frick.
sound like something you would
um,
do.
which makes you think. Like, what I want to do is like get some like animal bones, and I'll bury it in the backyard. So like 50 years from now, when someone buys the house, I'll bury it shallow. So if they ever dig, they'll find the bones. Then wonder if it's like, oh, a human is buried down here. I
Or
mean, not
what
really,
kind
but
of
like.
rituals were they doing out
um, so that was wild. That occupied pretty much my entire morning this morning. 'Cause I was watching like the news. They had a live feed going at the house, and the funniest thing is their neighbor. He's in one of the live feeds. Like here's the police line, and he's in his yard right here in a lawn chair watching the whole thing. And I was like, that would be me. I would do that 100%.
I would be too nervous. Like, oh, are they going to tell me, like, hey, mind your business?
I'd be like, dude, I'm vacuuming my grass. Okay, I'm vacuuming the yard. I'm picking up pieces of trash.
Yeah, leave me alone. I am minding my business.
um, which that topic kind of brings me to a bridge from last week to this week, where last week we talked about finding dead bodies, and this week I think we should focus on uh death. So like not finding, but people who have near death experiences, and like what theories there are for what happens after you die.
I love that. I know I've been reading so many near death experiences recently, and like the ways in which people feel that they are affected if they didn't die.
Yeah, these experiences they've read on, they've made, and then some people obviously they just like, fuck it, it's science. It's like not anything that happened. My brain hallucinated for a little bit, and they have nothing happening to them afterwards. But some people like, quote unquote find God afterwards, or like have a newfound sense of self, and like.
Some people claim that they have these heightened senses, so they like interact more with paranormal stuff, or they sense something going on. There were several people in one that I read this last week where it was like somebody shared their story, and then in the comments, people were talking about, I've had a near death experience where something told me to stop the car. And they were like, and I listened. I stopped immediately. And like they were with their cousin or something and going up this steep hill. And when they stopped the car, then they realized there was this cow down the road that was in the middle of the road that you wouldn't have seen, like going at the speed and how dark it was. And their cousin like jolted awake and was like, how did you see that? And they were like, you told me to stop the car. And they were like, I was asleep. Stories like that. Man, I don't know. They get to me. Or somebody telling somebody else to like put their seatbelt on, and they're in the car by themselves and they hear this male voice and they're like, and I listened and I did it. I put my seatbelt on and it didn't look like anyone was coming. So I turned left and somebody hit my car and it flipped in a way that they said that I had a guardian angel. There was one other one that this person was like on a icy highway and they had already crashed their car, and somehow like just scrapes totally fine. Somebody was coming up and they're like, are you okay? And they like jumped out of their car and they're like, yes. And in the middle of like walking to this person, they heard this voice say, get back in the car, and they didn't hesitate, got back in the car. Another car came barreling towards them, losing like they were on ice, so losing control of their car, hit, I don't remember if it was a male or female, so hitting their car. And they said that it flipped in a way that a police officer was like, you have a guardian angel, like you wouldn't have survived that had you not been in the car. Yeah, and I can't say that, okay, your brain tricked you in some way for those like that. I hope those stories are true, because that's like somebody else is looking out for you. I don't know. That's so gives me a lot of hope.
Now, so one idea I might have that could explain that, and it is still paranormal. Um, it's not necessarily a guardian angel or a ghost, but these people have these kind of like a psychic ability, intuition, super intuition, and they are able to see things happen before they happen. And like the hearing someone say, "Put your belt on" or "Get back in the car," it's like them, their brain being like, "All right, I know a car is coming down the road. Let's get in the car," or whatever. Like that could be an explanation. That's still pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but no matter what it is, I think it's just the coolest.
It
It's
is
crazy. It's so cool.
it is very cool. So I have a bunch of stories I looked up on obviously on Reddit. I'm obsessed with Reddit. But I figured we would start with a couple theories on death in general. And I'm not going to touch on the typical reincarnation or quantum immortality, even though I love that idea. Um, the with quantum immortality, I don't know how it works if you like get to be 99 years old or 100 or whatever and you die, like you keep spawning and older. Like got to be a point where like your body can't keep living. So do you go back to the beginning
I don't know.
or
You're
do
gonna have
you
to
just keep going?
explain quantum immortality to me.
So quantum immortality is basically when you die, you kind of jump timelines. So you jump into the body of someone
Oh,
exactly your age. So if you're getting ready to get in a car accident and that car accident's going to kill you in this timeline, you jump into a timeline where you swerve out of the way last second and live. And so that's your life now. And that keeps going on and on and on and on forever until I guess there's no stopping point. I don't know if there's like a point in which your body can't keep
yeah.
going.
Like
Like,
at that point, you hit a timeline in which you have a natural death, or is it like you're like a vampire and you literally go on forever? It doesn't feel like that could be it because somehow your body has to start breaking down. I don't think that you eventually get to the timeline that you are like a vampire and you don't. Because how rough would that be if you do die of like really old age and you jump to a different timeline? It's like, oh, you're on your last leg. You're stuck like this forever. It's just one timeline of just everybody is miserably old.
we're all 150 years old, where vampires like, oh, come here, let me bite you.
I know so many people that like when they get that far up there, they're like, please, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to live after like 100. Like, I feel like just seeing like pictures of Jimmy Carter, and like, he just turned 100 years old, and it's like I don't want to be that old and be alive still. Like, if I reach 100, I need someone to put a pillow on my face, and I will take the deep slumber. 'Cause
You sound like my uncle. He has definitely slept that. He's like, nah, take me out, please. And he's actually used the same thing, like pillow, please.
pillow, pillow on my face. Um, yeah, so that's quantum immortality. Um, and then obviously there's reincarnation. There's heaven and there's hell, and there's also heaven and then hell, and then limbo. I think it's a Catholic belief is when you're stuck between the two. I think purgatory is the better term.
I don't know. Supernatural makes it seem like it is what I would imagine hell being, like this in between place where everything evil and not great is, and you just have to like try to survive. But I don't know what happens if you die in purgatory.
I mean, from what I've seen from Supernatural and Purgatory, I feel like I could survive maybe like a day, and then I would be like killed by a werewolf or something. Because
I would want to be taken out, but I don't know what's after that. Like, is it somehow like another level of worse? I can't. I would want to be taken out though. I just give
um,
up. There's no fun in this.
yeah, there's no when you're fighting against vampires and werewolves and all this stuff, and you're 105 years old. Like, I think I'm just like, take me down to the third level of purgatory. I'll just keep going down.
Yeah, I'm just gonna lay here and you just keep taking me out because, like, I hope that's fun for you. It's like when a cat wants to kill something. Like, it's not gonna be any fun for you.
um, and I've been watching the Good Place. Have you seen the Good Place on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've only
Have,
seen
have
the
you,
very beginning.
oh, okay. I won't spoil it for you
I
then.
can't. I don't care.
I can't. Okay. So they are, and I'm sorry, listeners, if you're watching The Good Place and you don't want spoilers, skip ahead like a minute or two. So they're in the bad place, like from the get go. It's all just the bad place, making
It
it
makes
seem
sense.
like, yeah, like they're in the good place, like torturing them, and it goes on to like Michael, the good place architect, becomes good because they reset the timeline and keep trying, and like I think they went through like 700 or 800 variations of the good place, bad place routine, and every single time the four of them figure it out that it's a bad place, like really quickly. So he gives up on trying this and turns good and decides to help them get to the good place. And then they go see the judge, the
You're fine.
ultimate person that decides where you go. And so from there it just spirals off into these crazy adventures. Like right now in season 4, which is the final season, they are allowed to create their own good place with 4 other people to test and see if those 4 people can become good in the afterlife. And if they can, then the judge is going to change the whole system and let essentially everybody into the good place, because that proves you could become a good person even if you were a bad person in your actual life.
Okay. I like that. I mean, I think that you could kind of tell it was the bad place because, first of all these people thought that they were supposed to be somebody else. It's like, how did I? There was a mistake. How did I end up here? You're in the bad place.
Yeah, great show. I've been enjoying it, but I don't know why I went off that tangent. But so the first theory on death is called egg theory, and it is from. Let me pull my notes here.
This
It
reminded
spawned
me of
from
the egg cleanse,
oh god.
which Abe brought up too. He's like, I thought the same thing as Holden. Like, I did not expect it to be that in depth.
It's very deceiving. Okay, I would think it's like not at all what you described it was. So like I was lost.
Yeah, that's okay. You can watch some TikToks on it. They can explain to you in like 2 minutes or less.
I'll ask the psychic next week if she knows what an egg cleanse is, and she can show me maybe.
Or yeah,
Um,
if this is worth even doing, or am I just wasting eggs?
just, okay, so egg theory, unlike egg cleanse, egg theory borrows from certain other popular concepts in major religions like God and reincarnation, but presents a unique perspective on them. And this is from a short story. It's adapted from a short story by Andy Weir. So again, another theory of mine that comes from fiction that someone adapted into reality. The story follows a character who dies and meets with God, at which point he's told something strange, that time is only a construct and a human invention, and therefore it isn't real, but that reincarnation is real. And according to this theory, it happens every time you die. This means you can be reincarnated at any point throughout history and as any person who's ever existed. In fact, you will eventually be reincarnated as any and every person, because the egg theory says that there's only one soul in the entire world and it's yours. In essence, the idea is that everyone who has ever been alive has also been the very same person, reincarnated into every possible billions and billions of times over. So every person you ever helped has been yourself, then, and every person you ever hurt has also been you. And there's a reason for this reincarnation as well. In the story, God tells the recently dead character that their constant respawning enables them to mature enough to become the next God themselves. Um, it's particularly thought provoking of the afterlife because it presents an entirely new perspective to everyone's living lives. At one point in time, as per the egg way of thinking, you've been Cleopatra, Gandhi, Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, everybody. And you've also been every single person you've ever hated or loved. So Donald Trump, as well as every single person you've never met before. Um, so that is egg theory.
Wow. That's a lot to take in. Um, you have been every person ever, but and it switches time. You can, at any given time, you can meet any one of these people. But then it almost feels like so we're all a various degree off of how good or bad we are, because then if you're getting more good, then and you're reincarnated into some other version of yourself, but then that means that somebody is perfect. I don't know. This is gonna that hurts my head a little bit.
But like that, and that would, but that's true, and that person might not exist in our like timeline yet, like because time is a construct. Like you and I can be the same person, the same soul,
Where they
because
already
like yeah, we're they already here and they died. Like that's that is it's a you think about it. I looked at it and I was like, this sounds like cuckoo bananas, and I was like, wait a minute, if time is just a construct, then like yeah, you could be me and I could be you and I could be my daughter and I could be your mom and you could be, it's like just crazy, like the web of lives, because there's no like time isn't exist. It does not real. It's just a construct. So like the idea that you're older than me or I'm younger than you, my daughter's, way younger than me is like irrelevant because just different stages of our soul.
yeah, it blows my mind. Like I get the idea behind it, and I feel like maybe I've heard this before and I did not understand it. So I understand it a lot better now. I just it sounds too complicated for all at what point, because I guess I don't feel like in this given world that we're in right now we could be developing, because I'm assuming that the soul's not in there just for a second. We're developing anybody who's at that top tier gonna become God. Does that mean that if like you're Christian, was that Jesus, and we're all just like in this timeline just trying to play it all out for something that's already happened because time isn't real? I have heard a lot that the time isn't real thing. That's a made up thing from us. And honestly, that brings me peace. Thank you. Not that we're all the same soul though. That doesn't bring me peace. That kind of, I'm like, then where's the hope?
Clearly, I have broken you. I could tell when you were talking that you're like, I could tell my theory just blew your
You just,
mind.
yeah, you threw a wrench in my brain, and I'm gonna be spinning on this for a while. Plus, how do people meet the same kind of outcomes? Why would they have two different people meeting the same outcome? Like, let's say a car accident and two people die. Why did our soul have to go through that twice? I I
I
don't know.
think of it as like you're still living your life and like there's still purpose in the fact that like, you know, you do things in your life that you enjoy doing. That's your purpose. And so dying in a car accident might not be fun, but it's like it's just, you know, it
You
happens. You die and you're reborn.
Man, yeah, I hate that. I, I don't know why. I think because like when you're done with life, it's supposed to be something else, not this again. No matter
But
when you're being reborn again,
but
this
that
again.
means Abe, that means that I am you and you are me, so I technically can fly your drone. So want to use
Yeah,
that
I was
loophole
gonna
there.
say I am me and you are, and I am you and we are Abe.
Maybe Abe is the one soul, and we're all just reincarnated versions.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, man, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of hopelessness in that one. I don't like it. That feels like purgatory. Having to keep reliving this until you get it right enough that you get to be God, and then you get to watch somebody else go through this purgatory. I don't know. Sounds kind of sadistic to me.
I thought a lot about like going through these theories about like death and stuff, if there's a heaven and a hell, and I go to hell, let's just say I go to hell, I know exactly what my torture is gonna be. It won't be like, you know, slicing me up, whatever, beating me up. It's gonna be me sitting on a highway, a two-lane highway, with a car going 15 below the speed limit in the left lane, and a car matching them in the right lane, and I can't get over. And every so often, they inch really close, so I have like a foot of space, and they fall back together. And that's just me going on this road forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Lose my
Yeah, I mean I see this. That makes sense. And there's no music. The car is almost out of gas. There's two children in the back. Dad, 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 dad. Can you turn this tablet on, Dad? Look at this. Because that's what I went through today, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so overstimulated right now. I'm trying to
Oh.
drive. And then we didn't even have the traffic thing. This was just on our way home.
Every so often, I'm driving a Hyundai, and every so often, Hyundai turns off my windshield because I didn't pay for it that month, so I can't see the road.
You can see only the middle part that's these two cars still there. Even if you come to a stop, they will just stop right there. You'll never go as
Yes.
fast as you want to. It's always going to be 5 to 15 miles slower. At one
My
point, they
personal
start
hell.
reversing.
My other hell could be like, so, with the whole, like, the port strike this last week, I don't know if it's been happening in your state, but, like, everyone here has been, like, buying all the toilet paper and paper towels, which are made domestically, they're not imported, but everyone's
Yeah,
been buying them, so, like, Costco is out, so, like, my other personal house can't find anything, and I have to go to, like, 50 stores, and I had to go to, like, the pancake house like I did during COVID and buy individual rolls.
I'm always stocked on essentials. It doesn't bother me at all. I have like 6 things of soap extra at any given time. I buy from Costco with that stuff, so I have like 12 rolls of toilet paper. We have too many people in this house to like live on the edge there.
And
So,
you
but
have the
yes, that
trunk
is what.
space now for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, lots of toilet paper in there. I can fit everything. It's amazing.
Lots
I
of
haven't
bodies
actually
and
gone to Costco, but I did hear somebody complaining about how Costco's out of toilet paper, and they were like, "It's only made right down the highway over here. Like, that's not even part of the import stuff." And like when the act, because it ended like 2 days ago, right?
yeah,
The
it's
import.
over.
Yeah, I don't feel like anybody ran out of toilet paper until the day it ended, and then all of a sudden, I've been hearing about how Costco's out of toilet paper. Like, that's a bummer. Like, we have like 12 rolls right now, and I bet you this is the time that I normally go shopping, like this weekend. We'll see. Hopefully, everything's stocked up by then.
Right, hopefully. I mean, like, there were lines at Costco today, which I was like, "I don't understand you guys, like, this is so dumb."
Oh, there's lines at Costco here all the time. I've tried going when they open before, thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna beat the lines at Costco." You never beat the lines at Costco.
Psycho.
But I'm
Which I
there for 3 things, so
which I kinda miss, like, COVID times in that essence, because like, no one ever went to Costco. Everyone ordered stuff to have it delivered to them. So if I went to Costco at, like, 10 in the morning, it'd be, like, dead. That was just amazing. Beautiful.
yeah, I did love COVID times. I was pregnant, so I got even like that special hour. It was like pregnant people and senior citizens. Yeah, good times.
You and the old ladies. Uh,
It was great. They were constantly asking me if I could reach something. I'm like, I am 5'3". I cannot.
so, transitioning from theories on death, to what you had talked about yesterday, over message, near-death experiences. So, there's a really well-documented case that, is one of the most well-known ones out there that I found, about a lady named Pam Reynolds. In 1991, Pam Reynolds reported to her physician that she was experiencing symptoms of dizziness, loss of speech, and difficulty in moving parts of her body. Her doctor referred her to a neurologist, and a CAT scan later revealed that she had a large aneurysm in her brain, close to the brainstem. Because of the difficult position of the aneurysm, Reynolds was predicted to have no chance of surviving surgery for its removal. As a last resort, neurosurgeon Robert F. Spetzler of the Barrow Neurological Institute in Phoenix, Arizona, decided that a rarely performed procedure known as a standstill operation or medically induced hypothermic cardiac arrest could improve her chances of surviving surgical removal of the aneurysm. During this procedure, her body temperature was lowered to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, her breathing and her heart stopped, and the blood was drained from her head, so no blood in her brain. Her eyes were closed with tape, and small earplugs with speakers were placed in her ears. The speakers emitted audible clicks, which were used to check the function of the brainstem to ensure she had a flat, I'm not going to pronounce that, so an EEG, indicating a non responsive brain before they proceeded with the operation. The operation was a success, and she recovered completely. And the total surgery lasted about 7 hours with few complications along the way. Post surgery, Reynolds reported that during the operation, she heard a loud sound like a D natural that seemed to pull her out of her body and allowed her to float above the operating room and watch the doctors perform the operation. Reynolds claims that during this time, she felt more aware than normal, and her vision was more focused and clear than ever before. She reported seeing the surgical saw, but said it looked like an electric toothbrush, which is, in fact, true. And she said she could hear conversations between operating room staff, even though she had earphones in her ears, which were making a loud clicking noise many times per second in order to monitor her brain function. At some point during the operation, she says she noticed a presence and was pulled towards a light. She says she began to discern figures in the light, including her grandmother and uncle and other deceased relatives and people unknown to her. According to her, the longer she was there, the more she enjoyed it, but at some point, she was reminded that she had to go back. She says her uncle brought her back to her body, but she did not want to go, and so he pushed her inside her body. And the sensation was like that of jumping into ice water.
Okay, this is why I am in so many of these like near-death experience groups on Facebook. So many people have like the same type of story of like them floating above their body or seeing what's going on, having something in your ears, the eyes taped shut. Man, that took me a minute to get past. Like you said that, and I wanted to be like, wait, hold the phone. Why? Why did they like that? That feels like they're just trying to verify she didn't see anything. But okay, eyes taped shut. And yeah, and she can recall their conversations, even though she has this clicking going on and it showing the brain activity. That's why I'm in these groups. That's so cool. I saw one story where somebody was in a car accident with a sibling and their friends, and one of the siblings, the brother, was thrown from the car. And she said that he didn't talk about his story for years, but he would say that he felt like he died for a minute. And then when he finally started talking about it, now he doesn't shut up about it. She said that he talks about it all the time. But he said that he was like floating above his body. He saw the car accident. He saw her get tossed around like a rag doll, and that something pushed him into his body. Like you're not done yet. But there's been other stories where it's been along the same lines, but it's almost like people without even the near death experience, it's like they're astro projecting out of their bodies into like the same kind of experience. I don't know. That stuff fascinates me. Also scares me, but fascinating.
So last night I was on TikTok Live and someone came in the chat and they were saying that they could, I guess in theory, astro project themselves. And they were an older lady, so it seemed less likely that it was a troll. That kind of like, had them tell me all these things. But in their version of astro projecting, they don't necessarily go to the place. They can just see the place and envision a place. If I tell them, um, her example was her sister went to a haunted house and she was able to tell her sister A, where the spirits were, and B, what the rooms looked like in that house. So like where exactly the ghosts were and like what that room looked like, which I thought was pretty crazy. And I asked her to, I was sitting outside. I was like, why don't you tell me my environment? And she couldn't, but she did say that there was a spirit of an old man here. Um, and the previous owner's husband did die in the front of the house. So I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah. I mean, there were different variations of it. Some people, it felt like they had to be asleep for it. Some people, it's like a deep meditation. Some people, like one of them said that they were like a 12-year-old girl sitting on the edge of their bed and all of a sudden they were like the edge of the universe. I don't understand any of it, but how freaking cool. And most of it, if it was something that happened during their sleep or they're talking about like the experiences or where they went, 'cause some of them didn't understand it. Like it was scary. It almost seemed like a nightmare. And but what happened in the nightmare seemed like it correlated to what happened when they were asleep. And that, I don't know, so cool, so scary. But I had dreams where I was like flying when I was a kid, and I guess it brings back that like exciting feeling because I thought that was so cool. I haven't had those kind of dreams since I was a kid, but I'm like, wouldn't that be cool if it was like astral projection and I just kind of like lost the ability, but then also really scary because was I closer to the paranormal side at that time? I don't know. Thinking about that stuff kind of freaks me out.